Hey y'all, and welcome back to the channel. So we are back on the road. We have fulfilled most of our commitments. We've got one more this next week that we've been looking forward to. This week's video is going to be one of the three topics that we get the most questions about. Everybody want to know how much you spend on the road. What are you doing to earn a living? And the one that we probably get the biggest question about is it safe to RV on the road? And while for us it's not necessarily controversial, one of the main topics that we're going to cover probably is, and I expect a little bit of blowback from that. But we're going to cover in three parts: personal security devices. Then we're going to cover what I call operational security or personal awareness. And then we're going to cover identity theft, or basically running a network in your rig and why you really don't want to connect to networks that you don't know anything about. So stick with us and we'll get into those.
So before we get started, we are Second Amendment supporters, and Clay is a licensed concealed carry
permit holder.
And
I also have a certification from the Department of Defense in active shooter training. So
yeah,
when we say we're supporters, we're big supporters.
Yep.
The big thing is there's with handguns or pistols in any firearm, there's a big responsibility, and as a gun owner and a Second Amendment supporter, I believe strongly in firearm safety, the legalities of firearms, and the potential loss of life from a firearm. So what we did was we chose that we were going to go a non-lethal route this time. Instead of carrying an actual pistol in the truck, we decided that we were going to go to more of a self-defense weapon and more of a deterrent, simply because if a firearm were discharged inside this fifth wheel, it would come out of the fifth wheel, and God knows how many other RVs it would go through, and all those people then become potential accidental casualties. Mm-hmm. So I just felt it was better for the way that we travel that we would not carry a true firearm anymore. So you may be asking, what did we go with? And I hope YouTube doesn't ban this. I don't think they will, because this is actually not a pistol. It's not a gun. This is called a Byrna, and it's a CO2 based pistol. It shoots non-lethal rounds, which one is a hardened rubberized bullet, another is an exploding chalk bullet. They're 68 caliber ordnance, I guess you could say. The big thing is that it comes with one that is a very, very concentrated form of pepper spray, and then another one that is that same pepper spray mixed with tear gas. It has an effective range of 60 feet, has a muzzle velocity of 350 feet per second. They say that at 30 feet, it'll break a rib. At 20 feet, it'll knock a car window out. And this is the option that we went with. It's legal in all 50 states, including Canada. And we just feel safer traveling with this. Now, with that said, we never, in our whole time traveling, we never once needed the pistol.
no.
Never even thought about needing it. And there's a couple reasons why. One, we don't go to places that we could potentially need a weapon. We leave. There's just a whole host of things that we avoid to stay away from stuff like that.
Yeah.
So this is the controversial one that we were thinking of, because I'm sure there are going to be people that claim, it's better to have and not need than to need and not have. And, I agree with that, but when you factor in the calculus that you could have other people hurt by you defending yourself, I'm not okay with that. So y'all are more than welcome to comment on that. All right, so section 2 is personal security or personal awareness. I like to call it OPSEC for operational security because it's while we're, quote, operating as full-time RVers. So what are some of the security mechanisms we've put in to safeguard ourselves?
Well, we got the Ring doorbell, and we also try not to travel after dark.
Right. Now, we also utilize the buddy system when we stop at a truck stop, which means we both go into the facility and we wait for each other to come out so that, you know, it's not one or the other walking back and forth from the truck. Not that, I mean, I'm not saying truck stops are dangerous. I'm also not saying that they're safe.
Well, some of them are creepy, especially in the dark.
So, with that said, we actually had Todd and Jason both stop by, and where they agreed to film a couple of their personal stories.
Yeah.
And so we're going to wrap this security section up with those things because, you know, it is a common thing. You know, we try not to post where we are while we're still there,
right,
in case some crazy loon, you know, gets mad at something we said and wants to come confront somebody. You know, it's so anyway. Here's Todd and Jason. All right. So on the topic of security, we looked up and Todd came by.
You're hilarious. He just jumped right into that. Yes, I was going by on a scooter and I was like, there's celebrities in this RV park. And
where?
Right here. And if you don't like, comment, and subscribe, I mean, come on, no. Yeah, security is, I don't know if most people realize when they like follow our channel. I have, I'm not like paranoid, but I do have anxiety issues, always have. And so the crazy part is when we're in our RVs, I call it lockdown mode. Most of us do this at nighttime. Sheila's like, it's time to get off parade. So we all pull our blackout shades.
Yep.
And then once we pull our blackout shades, now I don't know what's going on the outside of the RV. And call it paranoid. You call it whatever you want. And I had to find a way right away to get some peace of mind. Not that I could really do anything, but the fact is so immediately on our Grand Design Momentum and now on our new RV, I've installed cameras. Now I didn't just do one camera.
Of course not.
I've got a camera. I've got a camera that sits underneath the fifth wheel, shoots out. I've got a camera over each door. And then I have a camera that goes over the back patio. And that's the way I had it on the Grand Design as well. And the goal there is because as we were traveling, when we go to blackout mode, I wasn't so worried about RV parks as much. But if you're traveling and you're doing like the Cracker Barrels, because you got that one night stay, right? You're going to go longer for that. So you're going 5 or 6 hours. You got the one night stay. And then when you do the one night stay, you're like, well, I'm in a Cracker Barrel or I'm in a Bass Pro Shop or, you know, whatever. And we've done 2 of them where she found like, I don't remember what app she used. It was like an old truck stop that had been closed, but it was just like this truck stop, right? So we pull in and there's truckers all around us running generators and stuff. And I'm sitting inside and my phone starts going off. And I look and it's about 9:45, 10 o'clock at night. And I look and there's a guy and he's in this camera and then he walks around, he's over here. And then he walks back and he's in this camera, and then he's in the back camera, and then he comes back around. And it was just really weird, right? So I'm watching it happen, and I'm like, what do I do? Like, what am I, you know, what's this guy looking at? Because we stayed hooked up to the truck. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. So finally, after probably it was a good 8 to 10 minutes, and he was like walking, and it was just very odd. Normally, if somebody came out, and we had switch it up on our RV, so sometimes somebody might recognize us and want to take a picture. So finally, I work up enough courage, right? And I pop open the door. I waited for him to get to the backside where I could see him. And I popped open this door and I said, "Hey, buddy, what's going on?" You know, because I wanted to gauge his interaction at that time.
Right.
And he had his phone, and he wouldn't address me. And then he was walking away with his phone. It's like, this is the weirdest experience ever. It's like, "Hey man, I'm trying to give myself separation if I need to jump in the door." And she was like, "Todd, get back in here." And I'm like, "No, I want to know what's the story here, right?" And so he finally puts his phone down only to realize he's from another country. And he tried, in his broken English, wanted to say he was a truck driver and wanted to start RVing, and he really liked our setup. And he was taking pictures to send back to his wife. But it was a very odd and tense situation. And I was like, okay, I was very thankful to have, and at that moment, it confirmed in my head, I need to have cameras. Second time, this has happened twice. We stayed in, which I think some of the best places to stay is Cabela's parking lots or Bass Pro. It's two of my favorites. But we were in a Cabela's parking lot. We pull in, everything's great. It's just us and two other RVs. We're kind of close together. And as we're sitting there, I was like, "What's that noise?" And I hear, right? And a car comes in and does like a donut, probably 75 feet from our RV. And I'm looking out the window going, what is going on? Because I don't have cameras on the other side because there's no door entries. Right. And I'm looking out this window, it's like, what is this? What are these kids doing? And then within 25 minutes, I kid you not, there's 75 cars plus parked all around our RV. And we're like looking out the window, and now it's like they're all doing donuts, and they're literally walking. There's a sidewalk on that side where there's no cameras. So they're literally walking back and forth within 5-10 feet of the RV, and they're yelling, screaming, cussing, smoking weed. And I'm like, we're hosed. Like, I can't get out of here. I don't know what to do. I'm watching through the cameras. And then I was like, do we call the police? And finally the sheriff's department shows up to disband everything. And the cool part about it is that sheriff sat outside of the RV for probably a good 2.5, 3 hours, because at that point I couldn't go to sleep. We're now pushing midnight. I'm freaked out.
Yeah,
and
adrenaline's up.
Yeah, and I had in the camera, I could see the police officer sitting outside the RV for a long time. So I don't mean to say all this to be paranoid. I don't mean to scare anyone in the RV community. I say it because we're all in this together, and I think we have to be cognizant of our environment, right? I run the cameras probably just to check if somebody tries to steal an e-bike or something on the outside when I'm in a park. But the peace of mind of having something in lockdown mode to see outside the RV maybe sound paranoid a little bit.
See, no, I get that. I think there's two types of people. I think there are those that find solace in not knowing what the Sam Hill's going outside. Mm-hmm. And then those that their anxiety levels like you go down when they know that there's nothing outside. Me, I'm on the other side. I don't need anything else to worry about, so I don't want to know what's going on out there.
Okay, interesting.
If I hear a noise, then I need to investigate that. I would rather not hear a noise. I don't want to see anything move, because I don't want to get up and investigate anything. Okay. I don't want a problem. I want to be left alone. Maria and I, we had a family emergency that meant that we had to leave Houston, Texas, and we had to be in Montgomery, Alabama on a dead shot. I mean, we drove 16 hours straight through. And we stopped at, 1:30 at a Love's in South Alabama to stop and get something to eat at a 24-hour McDonald's. And we were in there, and Maria's phone goes, when whatever sound it makes for the Facebook app. And somebody had sent us a picture of the back of our rig about 5 feet from it.
Yeah.
Wanting money. That freaked me out.
That is weird.
Because there's somebody 5 feet from the rig, and I don't know where they're at, and they know who we are.
Yeah.
So we put a plan together real quick, And I told her, we're going to make a beeline to the passenger door. I'm going to open the door. You get in the truck. Stella's in there. You close the door. You lock the door.
Yeah.
I'm going to do a walk around the truck.
Right.
And then when I get to the passenger side, as soon as you see me walk up to it, unlock it, I'm going to get in. We're going to shut the door and lock the door.
Yeah.
Then we're going to calm ourselves and get down the road. Because I didn't take our pistol into McDonald's. I don't conceal carry. You know,
Yeah, I get it.
I don't do that.
Yeah.
So I told Maria, don't respond to that message at all. Ignore it. You know, wait until tomorrow and let them, oh, sorry, we missed you. I mean, it's a lie, but
Right.
we don't know who these people are. You know, if you're sitting outside a Love's at 1:30 in the morning, sleeping in your car, looking for people to ask for money.
That's a pretty extreme one. Did they see like your YouTube channel? Is that what they used?
They looked at the back of the rig, saw the web address, saw the Facebook logo, the YouTube logo, and they actually commented, we later found, on 3 different social platforms. It's the only time it ever happened. We have never had anything else associated with any of the branding on the rig. But
that's an interesting thing. So, I have not had that, because we had our logo on the RV, you know, for the last 3.5 years. So now we have no logos. Because we have an LED wall, we can put whatever we want. But the fact is that we never had any kind of issue like that. That would have been very, very, and I think being prepared for how you're going to address a situation is part of the calmness of it. Like if you've already prepared yourself of what could happen or what is going to happen. But you know, here's the thing, is 99% of the time, we are all traveling and helping each other.
Right.
Like literally just driving here for this RV thing, I was at the rest stop here and I pulled up and somebody's like, hey, I noticed some water, you know, and I was like, hey, no big deal. It's our reverse osmosis system kicking off. He goes, okay, I thought, I had a leak. You know, so people are just always trying to be helpful and we're looking out for each other. I had another story this morning where he was passing by, RVer, had a flat tire. He noticed he didn't have the tools. He made a roundabout, came back around to help him change his tire. So I think we're all kind of like, if we're camping together in that overnight stay in like in a Cabela's or a Bass Pro, we're kind of looking out for each other.
Right.
So, but it is one of those things where you have to address this idea of how you're going to do your security on the road. So, yeah, and the other thing that ties into that would be your internet system, right?
Correct.
So if you're going to run the cameras, then we're running either a dual SIM card in our internet router or we're using the Starlink, but your cameras have to notify in so they can communicate. That's our system setup. I don't know what you guys are using because I don't have a Ring.
Oh, ours. I just refinished this. So ours is 100% now inverter.
Really?
Yeah, and this is our entire...
Oh, yeah, you've got it all set. Oh, okay. I have this whole setup here, and I have that same style in the back of our TV.
Yeah, that's where I got this idea, was from your rig at the Tampa show. So we actually run Verizon Home, T-Mobile Home, Starlink, and then we have an AT&T hotspot all muxed through our PepLink router, and then I put in an extra PepLink enterprise class access point. Okay. And then I built out VLANs for each one of the services. So
that's cool.
Our phones are on one VLAN, our security system is on another one, our work is on one, and then we have the ability to create a public internet for our friends that are around there. After Todd had our thing, he ran into Jason at No Sticks, No Bricks, and unbeknownst to us, they actually have a story of having an e-bike stolen. So
2 e-bikes.
2?
2 e-bikes.
So I'm going to let him tell y'all the story because, again, this flows into, the security of your surroundings, and we'll find out what they've done to help mitigate those things.
Absolutely. We considered ourselves pretty security conscious, and so we traveled for about a year with 2 e-bikes, and we locked them up outside, and they were always covered when we weren't around, and it didn't matter. They were still stolen. So we were at Thousand Trails, Las Vegas, If you've ever been to that park, then you know there's issues there. I mean, when a park has Constantine wire on the top of it, that should be your first indicator.
That's not,
right?
not a good sign.
We were supposed to be there for 3 weeks. We ended up only being there a week, and then we left because in the time we were there in 1 week, we had our e-bike stolen, a car was stolen, the neighbor behind us had a Jeep older Jeep that he left the top off, and every day he'd wake up and all the compartments would be open. They'd been rummaged through like every day. It was just ridiculous. Anyway, this was broad daylight, 6 a.m. in the morning. We're still sleeping, but it's light out. Our bikes are outside, locked to our RV with a cable and covered. And they just hopped the fence and took bolt cutters, cut the lock, took the cover off, tossed it. We think they cased it, you know, because they knew they were there, and rode off with them, even though they weren't electrified. We had the keys still. They rode them out like regular bikes, and yeah, so that changed our way of looking at things. You know, for a year we're thinking, it's fine. We've been, you know, doing what we do, and we haven't had any issues until you got an issue, and then you got to change your ways.
So y'all got video footage of them.
We did. We've got a Ring doorbell, so we've got the thieves walking along our RV and getting on the bikes and riding them off. The RV park had video footage of them riding them out of the park, and we turned that all over to the cops. We filed a report, and it didn't matter.
Just nothing. Low priority.
Low priority. They gave it 1 week, called us back and said, we're closing your case. We can't find your bikes. So like I mentioned, it definitely changed the way we look at our security, especially when you're traveling from place to place to place to place. So now we've got Apple AirTags on our bikes. We keep them inside, locked up in our RV or in our clam. We've got kryptonite locks where we lock them to each other, lock them to the picnic table, lock them to something strong that people can't just grab and move. We've got bike alarms on each one, so we've haven't had any issues since then.
Those bike alarms, do y'all have those in your Amazon store?
They're on our Amazon store.
So if you're interested in that, we'll put a link in our video to their Amazon store of where you can get those.
And they're loud and they work. I mean, they're very sensitive. So
yeah, we've heard them.
Yeah. Our yellow lab likes to set them off inadvertently quite a bit with his tail. He'll smack the bikes as he walks by and they'll go off. So we got to be careful.
So did y'all add any extra cameras on the outside or still just the Ring
We've
doorbell?
got the Ring doorbell. We've got some more security cameras on the inside of the RV, but we are definitely going to add some more cameras to the outside. We have not yet, but we will.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you throwing that into the video for us.
No problem.
So what are a couple more things that we do that help maintain our personal security?
Well, I've been able to find my phone, and I've given my location to our daughter and my parents in case something ever happened. I don't know. You couldn't find me. Maybe they could find my phone if I had it on me.
Yeah, if you and Stella were out for a walk and something happened, then somebody could find you. Anything else
Well, we have a safety plan. We talk about how we would handle certain situations, and
yeah, I mean we kind of come up with contingency plans. We discuss our route beforehand, try and have an idea of where we're going to stop for fuel, and we decide if we're going to pick up lunch there, eat in the rig. We kind of plan that and know how things are supposed to flow, and then have contingency plans in case they don't work that way. And I think that's probably one of the bigger things that helps us out there.
Yep.
All right, so the last part of this is, I don't know what to call it because it's not really identity theft and it's not network security, it's not really cyber security. It's kind of all wrapped up into one. And one of the things that me, because I usually fill the truck up, I'm always looking at the pump to see if it's been modified, because there are card readers now that can sit in between the pump and the card reader, and somebody can steal your information from there. We don't ever give our card out to anybody. If we can't scan it or use a secure website, then we don't use the card. We don't trust campground Wi-Fi systems because you never know who actually has control of those Wi-Fi systems, and you can capture all kind of data from those.
Yeah.
One of the things that we've done here, and we'll add a picture, is we basically run our own internet command center here, and it seems a little elaborate, maybe overboard for a lot of people. For us, it's what we actually need for work and to maintain some of the security devices that we have. So we put in a PepLink router. We installed a PepLink wireless access point that's external to that router. We run a hardwired Starlink into it for internet, and then we use T-Mobile Home and Verizon Home internet on a wireless bridge back to the PepLink. The reason for all that is because I wanted to be able to separate traffic out so that I made sure that we were getting everything that we needed and nothing fell through the cracks. Like when we're working between 8 and 5, then the work VLAN gets 90% of all bandwidth because we're home, and the security cameras and streaming and all that really shouldn't be consuming that much bandwidth. But then when we leave, I want the security system to have full access to all bandwidth, so in case something happens, we're notified. And then, streaming is always, a very distant third on the backside, because we usually only watch that at night before we go to bed. But this way, with this setup and this equipment, it allows us to prioritize traffic so that primarily the security equipment, the thermostats for Stella, the Ring cameras, we're putting in freeze and water detectors, those things, they all have full access to the internet so that we stay.
And our new bike alarms that we're going to get.
And our new bike alarms that we're going to get from Jason's cart. So with all that said, we were really excited about putting the video together, specifically around security and full-time travel, because I think there's a little bit more to it that people need to think about than just hopping in a rig and going. And how have you felt on the road? I mean,
so far we've only been in a couple of situations that were kind of sketchy, but it only takes one time to freak you out. So that wraps up this week's video, and we'll see you next week on Our Road Less Traveled.
See y'all.
Bye.
All right, now I'm gonna get naked. No, I'm just kidding.
That may hit the blooper reel. All right, so with all that said, and the interruptions, which y'all will see later in the video.
We are supporters of the Second Amendment.
That's the right to bear arms.
I know that.
Okay.
There's Todd. Hello.
What are you guys doing under there? Are you watching videos?
Oh no, her collar came up. Don't let her bite you.
Why would she bite me?
Because you're on a scooter.
We're going to mention that, if it's nighttime, we have a plan. Don't answer it. We have a plan for how we're going to handle stops if it's after dark, and then we typically try not to. Who is it? You weren't even listening.
I was trying to, but I got distracted by the phone ringing. If you'd let me look at it and turned it off, then I wouldn't have been distracted.
So.
Okay.
And then you'll just have to come up with some questions
There's
about.
Jason.
All right, so we're going to do Jason's.
Okay.
Go pal.
Action.
Action.
All right, so I'm just going to do a quick intro to toss it over to you. You tell us your story.
That wraps up the world's longest video that is only going to be. We started this at what? 10 o'clock?
Yeah.
And it's now 2:30. Anyway.